Why should we mention Allah's name when slaughtering animals in order for them to be eaten? Does the speechless animal, which is about to die, understand Arabic or any other language? They also say that we, the people of the East, are overly superstitious, and that we do not understand, nor do we have knowledge about a great many things. What is the use of mentioning the name of Allah over the carcass which suffers the pain of slaughtering, since it has no consciousness or understanding? Is pronouncing the name of Allah over the dead body no more than a religious ceremony or ritual? Has it a great effect? And is there a strict scientific basis or rule on which this is based? First, let us turn to individuals. Let us obtain some opinions and viewpoints concerning the importance of this practice of using Allah's name when slaughtering animals.
I eat it when I know that the words Allah is greater were pronounced over it, but I don't eat it when I know this didn't take place.
It's according to the intention. We shouldn't eat it if the butcher intentionally neglected to mention Allah's name, but if it was unintentional, then we can eat.
According to the religious view, it's necessary to do this, whilst according to the science, it's not.
There isn't a problem if man has forgot, but it would be forbidden if he hadn't intended to neglect this.
There isn't any problem if he mentions the words Allah is greater to himself, but it's better if he pronounces it loudly. Since he has pronounced the words Allah is greater over the first carcass, it means he has the intention for all.
It's necessary to pronounce the words Allah is greater over each carcass, but if they were gathered in one place, he can slaughter the whole, pronouncing this word once over all of them.
Yet pronouncing the statement in the name of God, Allah is greater over birds and cattle when they are slaughtered is related to heavenly statutes and divine commands, which prophets and messengers have informed the people of, isn't it?
Yes, of course. Mentioning the name of Allah loudly over the carcasses when slaughtering is part of all heavenly religion. The people of Scripture do not eat that over which God's name was not pronounced, and this is also the way of Muslim believers. Since we are of one origin, our master Adam, so religions are also of one origin. The Quran refers to this when it says, "Mankind were one nation. No one was a denier of God's book, but there were some who were obedient, and others who were not. Then Allah sent forth His prophets to give good news to the obedient and to warn the disobedient." The following verse reveals that religion has one origin, when God says, in Surah Shura, "He has ordained for you the religion He has revealed to you, Muhammad, and formally enjoined Noah and Abraham, Moses and Jesus, saying, establish the religion and be united in it." So the Quranic verses related to pronouncing the words Allah is greater are repeated 8 times. This evidently indicates that the matter is of great importance and seriousness. We have got to the worst time where pronouncing the statement, "In the name of God, Allah is greater," over the carcasses has disappeared due to negligence. People ignore the purpose and wisdom beyond their own aggrandizement. But God's will keeps on trying to restore the oblivious people to the true path. Therefore, the cry of the great scholar Muhammad Amin Sheikho sounds out of holy Damascus and spreads all over the world, inviting people to adhere to the practice of mentioning Allah's name when slaughtering animals. They must simply say, "Allah is greater," over each carcass. Then the miracles will happen. Today, we stand before the medical fact of pronouncing, "In the name of God, Allah is greater," over carcasses when slaughtering. It's mentioned in a unique scientific research project unveiled by a group of physicians. They have fought deadly germs through science, driving away the darkness of ignorance and superstition. They have also removed the ignorance that covered the legacy of the heavenly religions. The importance of pronouncing these words over the carcasses and the general ignorance about this impelled Professor Abdul Qadir al-Dairani to bring up this subject in a modern, scientific and academic light, showing the necessity of this practice to human society. He received his training from the humane scholar Muhammad Amin Sheikhu, whose work on the Quran is published in his book Interpretation of the Great Quran. Therefore, Professor Al-Dairani set out to talk to renowned scholars, professors and doctors specialized in this field. An agreement was made to perform comprehensive research to completely cover the subject.
We have held many medical meetings with doctors where I have told them that Muhammad Amin Sheikhu had demonstrated a discovery useful for everyone, for us and our children, more than 40 years ago. Pronouncing the word Allah is greater over a carcass relaxes it and puts an end to its suffering from diseases, germs and bacteria. Whenever a verse in the Quran mentioned carcasses, such as don't eat of that over which the name of Allah wasn't pronounced, Sheikh said to clarify for us that the carcass could be eaten only when this practice occurred, whereas if it wasn't, the carcass wouldn't be in a fit state to eat.
We have devised a schedule including all the points to be discussed and studied according to the latest modern scientific methods. An agenda has been arranged to study this case with its results and to ascertain scientifically an outcome that removes all doubts and ends all arguments. After the meeting of the scientific team, which approved the plan and the steps to take, the project began. First, the team began visiting slaughterhouses where the killing was performed in order to take samples of different meat, in order that various medical and scientific tests could be achieved. Then, they would be examined so as to show if any real effect of pronouncing the words, "In the name of God, Allah is greater," had occurred.
At the beginning, the research team were skeptical regarding this subject, but as soon as the primary results began to come in, they were astonished. They then acted with great interest, and the flood of surprise didn't stop during the remaining time of study and research. The results appeared to be incredible, but they were real. Mentioning Allah's name had a discernible effect in sterilizing the meat, as well as releasing the blood. On the contrary, the meat over which the words hadn't been pronounced was full of germs and congested with blood.
At first, it was impossible for man to imagine that this statement, "In the name of God, Allah is greater," had such an effect. But when the scientific team saw the findings and the results of the laboratory analysis, we found it really was a matter deserving amazement and admiration. Actually, pronouncing the name of Allah over the carcass when slaughtering resulted in unexpected findings.
This study, which drew the attention of the medical team, is regarded as one of the first such studies in Syria. In fact, it's one of the first such studies in the whole world. The researchers followed the most advanced medical and scientific methods adopted in the most developed international academies for studying the effect of this statement over the carcasses of animals.
We've executed a scientific germ study on a sample of calf meat slaughtered according to God's statute, i.e., pronouncing the statement, "In the name of God, Allah is greater," and on a sample of meat which did not have this done. We also performed another germ study on a chicken slaughtered whilst mentioning the statement, and on another without this happening. We took small pieces of the samples according to the technique and placed each one in a mixture of 10% Dettol solution, so as to sterilize the whole surface and avoid the accusation that microbiological pollution had resulted from germs surrounding the surface. After an hour of soaking, we took these samples of the calf and chicken and placed them in a thioglycolate solution. After which, they were stored in a heater for 24 hours. The first event of note was that there was no observable microbiological growth at all in any of the meat pieces over which the divine state had been pronounced, so that the solution appeared disinfected and clear. As for the chicken and the calf slaughtered without the statement, a significant increase in germs was seen in the thioglycolate solution, which seemed to be turbid. After 24 hours, we removed some of these cultures and place them in 3 solid culture solutions.